All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tearing down and deconstructing a fundamentally new operating system for ambitious leaders. We're looking at a framework that completely redefines how we interact with uncertainty, transforming it from this paralyzing force into an absolute strategic weapon. If you're a leader looking to build an edge that literally cannot be disrupted, you are absolutely in the right place. We're exploring this fascinating concept of psychotech leadership and the incredibly powerful mechanism of engineered risk.
Okay, let's dive into this. For your average leader, risk is viewed purely as a threat, right? It's something to be mitigated, managed, or just entirely avoided. It's a totally defensive posture based on survival. But for the psychotech leader, risk is completely reframed. It is not a threat, it's an engineering mechanism. It's a precise lever you pull to force growth and innovation. This isn't just some fluffy mindset shift. This is a completely different operating system for how you navigate the professional world and really separate yourself from the pack.
To understand how to wield this strategic weapon, here's our blueprint for today's explainer. We'll start with Part 1, the new operating system. Then, Part 2, diagnosis, looking at the safety bias. In Part 3, we'll break down the architecture of structuring your courage. And finally, Part 4, forging a winning identity. Let's get into it.
Part 1. The new operating system. Treating risk as engineering.
Before we can start engineering risk, we really have to establish the foundational philosophy powering this whole framework. So what exactly is a psychotech leader? Basically, it's a leader who actively leverages neuroscience, behavioral psychology, and advanced strategy. They synthesize all these domains to treat risk as a precise mechanism of engineering. Instead of just kind of guessing if a new product will work, a psychotech leader uses behavioral data to test a small engineered hypothesis. When you do this, taking initiative stops being this rare, exhausting burst of bravery. Instead, it becomes an irreplaceable core competency. It becomes exactly what you're known for.
I really want you to let this quote sink in. Risk is not danger. Uncalculated ignorance is danger. This philosophy is absolutely critical. I mean, most of us are taught to fear taking action because it just feels dangerous. But think about it. How many times have we watched massive companies totally fail because they chose the safety of doing nothing? The source material brilliantly points out that true danger actually lies in our blind spots. Taking calculated, structured action isn't reckless. It's literally how you discover what you don't know. Uncalculated ignorance, just staying stagnant and hoping the world doesn't change around you, now that is the ultimate danger.
Moving on to Part 2, diagnosis, the safety bias. We need to diagnose exactly why average leaders stay stuck in that dangerous state of ignorance. The math behind inaction is simple, but it's ruthless. Comfort equals stagnation. Inaction is incredibly seductive because it's the path of least resistance. Why? Well, because the human brain naturally defaults to safety. In fact, your brain consumes about 20% of your body's energy, so it's constantly seeking shortcuts and defaulting to known habits just to literally save calories. When given the choice between a known comfort and an unknown potential, your brain is hardwired to choose the known. It takes active, conscious energy to override that biological pull. If you don't, comfort quietly transforms into complete stagnation.
So, the crucial point is this. The safety bias isn't a character flaw. It's not a weakness at all. It is pure biology. And honestly, naming it this way is super powerful because it removes any shame you might feel about hesitation. If you've been putting off that major launch, it's not because you lack courage, it's because your caveman brain is trying to save you from a saber-toothed tiger that is even there. Once you get that intellectual buy-in and recognize it's just your biology doing its thing, you can start to systematically engineer a way around it.
Let's look at how to do that in Part 3, architecture, structuring your courage.
Now we're moving from diagnosing the problem to the actual system used to solve it, because as the source material points out, motivation without structure, that just leads straight to burnout. You cannot rely on raw willpower alone. Instead, you rely on this macro formula. Pressure plus purpose plus psychology plus technology equals peak potential. We're taking the deep inner work of purpose and behavioral psychology and combining it with the external realities of pressure and AI-era technology. It's pulling from neuroscience and ancient wisdom and snapping them together into one highly executable modern model. It's not just theory. It's a literal architectural blueprint for sustainable peak performance.
To actually run that formula day to day, the system relies on the big four practices: strategic thinking, emotional intelligence, execution discipline, and adaptive intelligence. Think of it like a toolkit. Strategic thinking maps the terrain. Emotional intelligence keeps you calm under fire, execution discipline ensures you actually do the work, and adaptive intelligence lets you pivot when things inevitably go wrong. These 4 practices form your daily operational system. They're designed specifically to make taking initiative sustainable. A psychotech leader doesn't just exhaust themselves with one massive, chaotic leap of faith. They use these 4 pillars to systematically evaluate, execute, and adapt. They make calculated risk a repetitive habit, not a one-off exhausting effort.
A massive part of this architecture requires deep behavioral conditioning. Notice how we are aggressively reframing negative concepts into strategic fuel here. In this system, failure is no longer a stop sign. It's simply translated into data. Think about your last major professional setback. Did you treat it as a stop sign, or did you mine it for data? Actually, uncertainty is no longer a reason to freeze either. It's mapped out as pure possibility. This is how you fuel innovation. It's not toxic positivity or wishful thinking. It is a structural rewiring of how you interpret feedback from the world around you.
Which brings us to our final section, Part 4, Forging a Winning Identity.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer science behind it. I want to slow down for a second, because this is probably the most profound insight of this entire explainer: neuroplasticity. When you repeatedly expose yourself to calculated risk, and you either survive or learn from it, your brain literally rewires itself. You are building a stable psychological infrastructure. You're training your nervous system to understand that stepping into the unknown does not equal death. You are physically changing your brain to innovate without being paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake.
And because of that neurological rewiring, we arrive at this incredible realization. The greatest return on risk is not money, it's who you become. This anchors the entire practice of psychotech leadership. An identity upgrade is completely immune to market volatility. It's immune to a failed product launch, and it's immune to external judgment. Even if a specific project completely tanks, the expanded capacity and the resilience you built within yourself, that cannot be taken away from you. You literally cannot lose an identity upgrade. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate compounding loop. Step 1, you take a calculated risk. Step 2, you survive or learn from the outcome, collecting that vital data. Step 3, you compound your capacity for the next risk. A leader who internalizes this framework doesn't just win isolated individual decisions, they systematically compound their advantage over time. With every single cycle, their baseline for courage and execution expands, leaving their competition, who are just out there trying to survive, further and further behind in the dust.
So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Look at the actions you're taking right now. Look at the decisions you are avoiding, and ask yourself, what identity are your current risks building? Are you building an identity of safety and stagnation? Or are you engineering the resilient, innovative identity of a psychotech leader? The choice and the system to build it is entirely in your hands. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I challenge you to go engineer your next strategic move today.